Hello and welcome to my session. A very good morning if you're in US. Good day to you if you're from rest of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, uh, let me just give a quick introduction about myself. My name is Anand, and I have been with the team Manage Engine for the past 16 years, and I have sailed with different portfolios of Manage Engine. Now, I'm not going to get deeper into what exactly is Managed Engine and what are the different portfolios we have, how many products that we have in our in Managed Engine, So because this particular session is going to be all about the PCI DSS, and that's going to take a very long time. So let me not get into deviate the session topic here. So I'll just directly go deep dive into it. And before getting on to this webinar, I would like to give you a quick hint that you could see there are two different icons in the Zoom's panel. The first one is the chat, and you can make use of this chat in case of any questions that you have pertaining to this webinar. And also there is a Q&A icon you can see there, and you can make use of that Q&A just in case if you have any questions about the topics that I will be discussing here in the today's session. So first of all, I would like to appreciate Jami for giving a confirmation that you can hear me. And I just would like to get a confirmation, same confirmation from some of the other participants as well. So to start with, just a quick question. Am I audible, and are you all able to see my slide deck? I am in the very first slide deck that says Unlocking PCI DSS v4.0, your path to enhanced payment security. So just to get a confirmation on the chat window, you can please type in yes, I can hear. All right. I already got a couple of responses. Thank you, James. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Binaka. Thank you, Johannes. Thank you so much, everyone. It's given me a great pleasure to continue because of all the responses that I have seen so far. Thank you so much once again. And let me just go deep dive into the today's topic. All right. So this is going to be the objective of the today's session, right? So first things first, what exactly is PCI DSS, right? And how it got evolved. So when it got started and what are the different versions have been released as far as the PCI DSS is concerned, and what are the major components of the PCI DSS and the requirements? So everything will be discussed here in the today's session. So I have just broken this agenda into three different parts. So first one is going to be about the PCI DSS. What is that all about? Then we will be discussing about the v3.2.1, the older version, the earlier version of the PCI DSS. And then we will be talking a lot about the PCI DSS v4.0. We will be talking a lot about what are the major requirements in order to comply with the PCI DSS, the latest one, and what kind of challenges that you might face. What are all the easiest mechanisms using which you can upgrade to the PCI DSS v4.0. So that's all going to be the agenda for the today's session. And of course, eventually we will be talking a lot about the SIEM, how the SIEM is going to complement the PCI DSS v4.0. So this is all going to be the agenda for the today's session. So without any further ado, let me just ask this question, and I'm going to show a poll as well. Okay, so I would appreciate every one of you if you could, respond to this particular poll. Let me just quickly check the poll. Okay, before that, the question is going to be, has your organization experienced any security incidents related to payment card data in the past years, right? So let me just quickly show the poll. I would request every one of you to please answer to this so that we can have a very much interactive session. Okay, so you can see the choices over there, yes, no, or not sure. I would recommend to please have this thing updated. All right, that's quite interesting answers. Okay, so It looks like you all care about the security part. You all care about, I mean, I guess nobody has taken the security or the compliance so light, except for a few. That's a very good number. And that's interesting too. So thank you everyone for responding to me. Let me just end this poll real quick and I will go on with the today's topic. So first things first, what exactly is PCI DSS? So the payment card industry data security standard is what the expansion of PCI DSS is a set of security standards designed to ensure that all companies that accept, process, store, or transmit credit card information maintain a secure environment. So basically, this definition says that everybody who deals with the security, who deals with the credit card needs to follow some protocol. What is that protocol for? To ensure the information about the customers or the information about the credit card is safe and secure. So the PCI DSS was created to protect the cardholder data and reduce the credit card fraud. Okay, so I don't have to say a lot about the cybersecurity incident that is happening across the globe, especially for the fact that people are migrating to the cloud infrastructure so fastly. So there exists a scenario where you will have to ensure everything that you are stored on the cloud is absolutely safe and secure. For that matter of fact, most of you would have known about the CASB module. So the CASB will help you to protect any information, right, that is being uploaded to the cloud infrastructure. So you can restrict your employees from updating or uploading any of the information that is going to get stored on any cloud infrastructure. That's number one. Number two, you can monitor what is that the employees are, what are all the websites the users are accessing, and if they are doing any transactions over the cloud applications. Every such information can very well be monitored with the help of the CASB module, as well as you can restrict them from uploading any such data. This is just a tip, and there is a point that will correlate to the PCI DSS v.4, v4.0, which we will be discussing in the later stage. Right. So coming back to the PCI DSS, when it got started. So way back in 2006, major credit card companies, including Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and JCB International have collaborated to create the PCI Security Standard Council. Once again, this is not the DSS, this is the PCI SSC. So, right. So this is responsible for developing and managing the PCI DSS. Now, you will be surprised to see the evolution of the PCI DSS because the actual PCI DSS got started way back in 2004. Okay. So you can see the evolution right here. So way back in 2004, the PCI DSS 1.0 got released, and the actual 1.1, the PCI DSS 1.1 got released way back in 2006. That is where the PCI SSC has came into the picture. Now, PCI SSC has structured the framework of the PCI DSS, and then PCI DSS, the first version got evolved. It got some updated security mechanisms, security compliance policies. Then it got released in 2006. And to be very precise, it got released way back in 2008 in the month of October. Okay, so 2006, September 2006, where the PCI DSS version 1.1 got released, but that was the basic one. Now, then later, PCI SSC has introduced the PCI DSS version 1.2 with which is emphasized on importance of reducing the scope of the cardholder data environment to pretty much minimize the risk. So the specific requirement for the version 1.2 is going to be, it has introduced more specific requirement for securing wireless networks and clarified the use of antivirus software and patch management. Okay, so there exists the scenario um, emphasizing that why do you have to have all the firmware software to get upgraded to the latest version, especially when it comes to the security patches has to be updated. So this is exactly what the 2008 uh, the PCI DSS 1.2 got it updated. Right. So there are, down the line, there are lots of other security mechanisms have been introduced, but more significantly, I would like to focus on the PCI DSS version 3.0, which got released November 2013. So here, security as a shared responsibility. So this has highlighted the need for maintaining security as an ongoing process, not just once in a year of an assessment. Okay, so security has to be, the assessment needs to be done very frequently, but definitely not once in a year. And what are the enhancements they have done? Focused on enhancing the password policies, penetration testing, and protection against the malware. Okay, so when it comes to enhanced password policies, that includes the usage of special characters, usage of more number of characters, that is the length of the password has been increased, and plenty of other security standards were included in this particular version, which is the version 3.0, which got released in November 2013. So the next major release was the PCI DSS version 3.2, which got released in April 2016. So PCI DSS 3.2 in 2016. Let's see what are all the enhancements they have done. So here, they have expanded the requirement for MFA to include the administrative access form within the network and not just for the remote access. So if you are within the network, MFA is a very essential security medium, right? And for the service providers, they have introduced additional requirements, including quarterly reviews of personal and operational security control. Okay, so this is for all the service providers. When I say service providers, that includes merchants, bank, or anybody who runs the financial related organization. So all of such people needs to get reviewed every quarterly, and you need to have an enhanced in operational security controls as well. Right. So that's pretty much about the evolution. And we're going to talk a lot about the PCI DSS 4.0, which got already released in March 2022. So the deadline for getting it, upgraded to the 4.0 is going to be on 2025. Okay, so it's going to be on 2025, and that will be in the month of March, if I'm not wrong. Yes, that's correct. So it's going to be on March 2025 is the deadline that is given for you to upgrade to the PCI DSS 4.0, which is the latest one. Okay, now coming to the key components of PCI DSS. Okay, so like I said earlier, so we will be talking about what exactly is the PCI DSS in the first place. Then we're going to talk a little thing about the earlier version, that is the version 3.2, and eventually we will be talking about the latest one, the challenges that you might face and how you can upgrade to the 4.0, which will be coming up in the upcoming slides. So the first key component of the PCI DSS, the basic PCI DSS is to build and maintain a secure network and systems. Okay, so which means that any firmware, any application that you have, either which is built in-house or something that you have purchased from any third-party vendors, needs to be secured. That is, you need to have a good authentication mechanism if it is an application. If you have a firmware, if you have the networking devices which runs on a firmware, all those firmwares has to be upgraded to all the security patches, which is sort of the very essential component of the PCI DSS, right? The next thing is protecting the credit holder data. Sorry, the card holder data. So what do you mean by the protection? So when you have the information about the credit cards, about your customers in your environment, ensure only the authenticated person is going to have an access to it, because that's going to have one of the most sensitive data, right? And then you have to have a proper PAM solution in place in order to track who is going to have what access to the particular data. Okay, so I would say not only the PAM, you need to have the good ITIL mechanism enhanced or updated in your organization, so that there should be a workflow to get followed. So before even accessing such personal data, your users needs to ensure they have to follow the process of raising a ticket, and that ticket has to be validated before even approving it. And you will have to decide on who is going to approve those particular tickets, because the user is requesting for the most sensitive information that can have an impact to your business, right? So that is how you can protect your data. And moreover, you have to periodically audit those sensitive files and folders. What do you mean by audit? How many people are accessing to those folders? How many unauthorized people are trying to access it? I would say in a layman's term, how many failed attempt to read that file or how many failed attempt to write that file have happened. So these are all the information that has to be audited, and that's pretty much that would get covered here in protection of cardholder data. The third one is maintain a vulnerability management program. So you need to assess your environment periodically and ensure how many devices are vulnerable. When I say vulnerable, how many devices have not been updated with the latest security patches? That has to be, I mean, there has to be a program which you should run, and that will have to identify such system, and then immediately you have to take some actions. The immediate action is going to be isolating such system before even upgrading those system with the latest firmware or the latest security patches. So that is something that you will have to have in your mind. Then implement strong access control measures. So what do you mean by access control measures? It is about deciding what level of permission that you're going to provide to access such sensitive data. Are you going to give the complete full permission for the user? And if that is the case, how long, I mean, the duration of such permission for that user? Or if you're going to give a limited permission, what kind of permission and who is going to authorize those permission? Everything has to be decided. Everything has to be set as a framework, and the process has to be followed accordingly. So once again, in my opinion, PAM is the right solution. So you will have a feature in the PAM solution, that is the JIT, just-in-time access. You need to have that integrated with your IAM solution. What is an IAM? It is a way that you can manage the permissions of all the entities that you have within the organization. So in that way, you need to have a tight integration where the users will have to request for a permission to a particular resource, and that should get integrated with your IAM solution. Your IAM solution will be defining the permission, assign the permission to the respective user, of course, after the validation and the proper workflow approval. And once it is approved, the user can make use of the resource, and the JIT module you have in the PAM is going to reverse those permissions automatically, because you cannot believe a human right here. So it's going to be an automated process where once the job is done or once the timeline has been elapsed, the permission will get revoked. So that is something that you will have to keep a track on. And that's pretty much about the access control measures. Regularly monitor and test network. When you talk about monitoring the information, you will have to periodically validate on who has what permission on those sensitive data. For example, the cardholder data that you have within the organization, right? So ensure that only the respective people has the permission, and then periodically you will have to conduct a test, that is assessing your environment, including the latest patches are there or not, or is your firewall rules have been configured successfully. So such testing has to be conducted periodically, right? Then maintain an information security policy, that is an awareness that has to be created to all of your employees, especially when it comes to managing such kind of cardholder data. So make sure that your employees are well trained for sharing the information to the outside world. So Manage Engine has such program, where we will have to conduct these kind of awareness testing. We will have to go through certain procedures before even taking up the test. We will have to be watching all the videos, which has all the security enhancements, security awareness, and then we will have to take up the assessment, and it is mandatory that we will have to pass the assessment. So such kind of mechanisms are very, very essential when it comes to the PCI DSS standards. Right. So once again, there are 12 key requirements for the PCI DSS. So we have pretty much covered the most basic and the essential requirements in the previous slide deck. But on top of it, you could see that these are all the key requirements as far as the PCI DSS are concerned. First thing is install and maintain a network security control. That is, all of your network has to be safe and secure, especially when it comes to accessing the web pages. Make sure that the particular HTTPS is enabled while transferring any data. For example, if at all authorization for a credit card is going to happen, make sure that a transaction is safely secured with using the HTTPS. So that needs to be taken care of, and apply the secure configuration to all the system components. Protect the stored account data. The best way to protect them is to implement the best tool available in the market, especially the SIEM. So this is when you can follow some procedures. For example, you have a sensitive data, and an unauthorized user is trying to access those sensitive data. It could be a manual access, or it could be a automated malicious script that can try to gain access to it using some brute force. Make sure that your SIM solution is programmed in a way that it should be identified automatically, and not just the identification. You will have to follow the workflow process. For example, creating a ticket in your ticketing software, and ensure that the remediation should also comes into the picture. So the scope of the SIM is pretty much till the workflow, but ensure that your SIM solution has all the enhanced mechanisms, including the SOAR capabilities. That is, actions should be taken as well. For example, removing the system out of the network, or disabling that particular user, or turning off the computer itself. These are the actions that could be taken if at all you have a proper SIM solution, and that will help you to protect your data. All right, so these are the other key requirements, which are pretty much straightforward. And one particular point which I would like to emphasize here is that restricting the physical access to the cardholder's data. Okay, so that is, if somebody is going to access to the is going to request an access to a particular folder which has these kind of information, sensitive information, the physical access needs to be reviewed before even giving to it. So ensure that you have a secure web-based application, and using that application, the user can go and access to that particular files and folder, and they can make use of it. But giving an access to the physical data itself is something that is not advisable, and that's one of the key requirements for the PCI DSS as well. All right, so I do have another question real quick, and there will be a poll coming up in a short while, and I'm going to wait for 30 seconds for everyone to understand this particular question, and then I would request everyone to please respond to this question here. So how would you rate your organization's current level of PCI DSS compliance? Once again, this is not pertaining to the latest version. This is all about the general PCI DSS compliance. Okay, so I'm going to show the questions real quick. I'm sorry, the poll real quick. Okay, I apologize. This is not the one. I'm going to get back to it. I'm sorry. Once again, I'm really sorry. I'm going to show the poll for this particular. Yeah, yeah. This is the poll which I want every one of you to answer. You could see the poll right here. Here you go. Uh, it looks like a confusion here once again. It looks like a confusion once again. So looks like the order of that particular questions were not properly framed. I apologize. But anyway, this is again a question that I want every one of you to answer it. So how often does your organization conduct PCI DSS compliance assessment? So please go ahead. I would request every one of you to please have this thing answered. All right, thank you so much. That looks like a very good response. So I'm quite amazed with all the responses that I'm receiving so far. So in the meanwhile, I have a few questions available in the question and answer section. So Charlie, I have noted down your question, but please give me some time. I will answer it to you. I can either get back to you or towards the end of the session, I will be answering to both of your questions. All right. So the second question, Charlie, uh, it would be nice if we could connect it, connect via email so that I can answer both of your questions. So thank you so much for putting it right here. So once again, there was a confusion with the questions. I apologize. That was not as per the order that I have anticipated. So please excuse me. But anyway, this is the question. The question that is right in front of you is how often does your organization conduct PCI DSS compliance assessments? This is again a question that I will be showing up. I mean, I thought of showing up in the later stage as well, but this is not relevant to the slide deck that you're looking at right now. So I'll just go back. All right. Thank you so much for all your responses. I'll just go back to my slide decks real quick. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the PCI DSS 3.2.1, which is the earlier version of the PCI DSS evolution. So let's see what are all the mandatory things were there so far in this particular, I mean, the previous versions. So this got released way back in May 2018 as an update to its earlier version, that is PCI DSS 3.2. And this is where the multi-factor authentication has been introduced. And there were so many other authentication mechanisms were introduced as well. Okay, so the usage of multi-factor authentication within the in-house as well as an external applications have been introduced right here just to safeguard all of your data that you have in your organization. And this update is pretty much related to the service providers, including requirements for executive management involved in risk management. So the risk management comes into the picture right here because this is considered to be as a serious threat or a risk if at all the application where you have the most sensitive data does not supports the MFA. So that's one of the very critical thing. And additional guidelines on the usage of segmentation to isolate the cardholder data environment, the CDE, from other networks. That is, the information should not go public, or the information should not be visible to everyone that you have in the organization, except for the authorized people. And then the requirements around ensuring that security controls are maintained during the period of change or maintenance. That is, the continuous review should happen periodically, once in a month or once in every quarter, just to ensure that every devices that you have in the organization are safe, are being updated to the latest patches, have been updated to the latest firmware. Everything has to be maintained. And then clarification on scoping and scoping guidelines to help organization properly define the boundaries of their CTE. So these are all some of the major and essential requirements for the PCI DSS 3.2.1. So the deadline is, organizations were expected to comply this particular version of PCI DSS was June 30th, 2018. And compliance, involves in the self-assessment questionnaire or an on-site assessment by a qualified security assessor, depending upon the organization size and complexity. So what this means here is that you need to have a good QSA, and this particular QSA, this person should not belongs to your organization. Okay, and you will have to ensure that this particular security assessor is going to assess every environment that you have, and it should not happen over the remote. He has to be on site for doing all of these assessments. So this is what you have in PCI DSS 3.2.1. Now comes the very basic question. Okay, so this is not to scare you, but this is the actual fact that you all have to understand. What will happen if you don't comply to any of the PCI DSS versions? Okay, first thing is it's going to be a huge increase in fines and penalties for the card brand and acquiring banks. Okay, so there is going to be an increase in the transaction fees as well. Now imagine a scenario, you have not complied to the actual standard for which your customers are going to be fall victim for all such negligence. Okay, so there is going to be a transaction fee. Eventually the transaction fee will be collected from all of your customers. That will increase the unreliability of all of your, basically the reliability of the customers, will get reduced if at all you're going to make them to pay the fine that for all the mistakes that you have done, by not complying to the latest standards. And this is one of the most critical thing. Not just a fine, not just the penalty, it is also about increased risk of data breaches and financial losses. Of course, yes, it's very obvious that if at all you're not complying to it, which means you're not upgrading all the system to the latest patches, and if the systems are found vulnerable, it's going to get easily exposed to the bad actors in the dark website, and people can steal the data at any point of time. So this is exactly what the PCI DSS is going to control. So there will be a reduction in the amount of cyber activities, cyber criminal activities happening across the globe, right? Above all, above the risk, about the fine, the most critical thing is about the reputational damage. That is, your customer, like I said before, will be losing the reliability about your products available, and they will not be able to believe you in doing any further business. So these are all the consequences that you might have to face if at all you don't comply with the latest standards. So I think this is the question that you have already answered. So how often does your organization conduct the PCI DSS compliance assessment? Thank you so much once again in advance that you have already answered to this particular question. So let me just move on to the actual topic for today, which is the PCI DSS v4.0. Okay, so basically, the PCI DSS v4.0 got released in the month of March 2022 as an update to the version PCI DSS 3.2, which is the earlier version. Okay, so this is going to give a significant security updates to address all the threats that's happening across the globe. Okay, now you could see that the transition period is set to end of March 31st, 2024. Okay, so the deadline is going to be on or before March 31st, 2024. However, there will not be any validation that will happen until March 31st, 2025. So basically, I can tell you that the deadline is going to get, has been increased for 1 year. And so the transition period has been increased, and eventually the deadline is going to be on 31st of March 2025. Okay, so the core goals of the PCI DSS v4.0 are promoting continuous security process and enhancing the validation methods. Okay, so the validation, how are you going to validate the card? There's going to be a huge, security mechanisms will be involved so that it ensures that only the right person is accessing the card, or the card is being accessed by the right vendor. So the key things here: access privilege, updates to encryption, and vulnerability management. Okay. And then there is going to be an enhanced requirement for password, MFA, and IAM as well. So you remember what the IAM and the PAM solution is going to offer in order to complement the PCI DSS v4.0. That is, you need to have a good mechanism on users accessing to the sensitive data, where if you have a PAM solution in place, the users will be requesting for an access to such sensitive data, and that goes to your IAM solution, and the IAM solution is going to give you the authorization, and the actual management will happen it will happen within your IAM solution, and eventually once the job is done, the permission will get revoked automatically. So that is the kind of a tight integration, and there are lots of other security enhanced requirement for the password. That is the length of the password, avoid some repetitiveness, password history is being get checked. These are all the other enhanced requirements are available in this particular v4.0. So more controls on the web application, the HTTP headers, and the payment script pages. So lots of other security mechanisms were, have been defined here in this particular version of PCI DSS, which we will be discussing it in a short while. Now, this is the most important one, the last one that you're looking at in my slide deck: customized approach for implementing and validating the PCI DSS requirement. Okay. Now, there is an advantage as well as a disadvantage in this particular approach. Okay, because you never know what kind of customization, how can you leverage in attaining this particular standard. It is still a mystery that has to be clearly defined by the council on what kind of customizations are allowed, and to what extent that is still not yet defined as far as my research is concerned, but I'm still working on that. So the customized approach is going to leverage the vendors from implementing the security mechanisms, but to what extent is still not sure. Right. So what are all the major challenges that you can have while implementing the latest one? So first of all, understanding and interpreting the new requirements. Okay, so you need to have a clear understanding on what are all the basics that has been implemented, that has been defined here in the latest v4.0. So organization may struggle with interpreting on how the new standards apply to their specific environments, especially given the added flexibility in version. Okay, so I'm talking about the customized approach right here. So the new customizable approach provides flexibility. Yes, it is true, but it also requires a more in-depth understanding of security controls and their effectiveness. So which can be challenging to the document and justifying during an assessment. Okay, so this is exactly what I said earlier. Okay, so you never know what is the limit to this customization. So you need to have a complete understanding about the latest updates. At the same time, know what mechanisms that can be involved in the customizations that is not being defined here. So that's going to be the very first challenge. And of course, significant budget is required in order to upgrade to this particular version, because there is going to be a huge changes in the password requirements. So implementing new technologies, PAM or IAM is pretty much required right now, because that is going to help you with the complete enhancements of the security. So that's definitely going to be added burdens to your budget. So, but of course, the good thing is that you still have enough time, so you can just go and talk to your management about the deadline and get it compliant as early as possible. So the risk assessment, okay, so the PCI DSS v4.0 places greater emphasis on risk-based approach, which requires organizations to have a good understanding of their risk environment and the ability to perform thorough risk assessment. So risk assessment is going to be one of the huge challenge, and that needs to be taken care as well. So this particular challenge that I'm going to talk about is going to be common across the globe: staff training and awareness. So training staff to understand and implement the new requirement can be a significant undertaking, especially for larger organizations with many employees. And the most critical thing is that vendor and third-party service provider management, that's going to be another hurdle in order to upgrade to the latest PCI DSS, because managing your employees, of course, it is understandable, but vendors and the third-party service providers, aligning with all of them with the new protocols, that's going to be a most difficult thing. So understanding that, the council has given you a good amount of time, so you will have to start working on it right now. So integrating the updated requirements into existing security frameworks, so that's going to be another key challenge. So you need to have a complete control on the existing frameworks that you have. So if at all a resource left the organization, the person who is going to take over it, needs to have a complete control. So ensure that everybody are on the same page in order to get the security framework constructed so that you can get compliant with the latest one. And last but not least, documentation and evidence. So the most, I mean, when it comes to the customized approach, it must be thoroughly documented, right? So only then the evidence, will be created on what kind of changes that you have made. So the documentation is going to be a bigger challenge, because you need to understand what is that you're going to do. But when it comes to the customizable approach, that's going to be a hurdle, because you never know what kind of customization that you would be doing, to what extent, on what technologies. So that has to be defined thoroughly. So these are all some of the challenges that you might face during the upgrade of PCI DSS v4.0. Right. So how are you going to get prepared? Okay, so this is something that you need to focus on. Okay, so first thing is that you have to start acting on it as early as possible. So you need to understand the changes and start thoroughly reviewing the PCI DSS v4.0 documentation. Highlight the difference between the v4.0 and the previous versions. That's the key thing here. Okay. So focusing on new requirements and flexibility offered by the customized approach. So that is, again, you have to have a good determination, and then you can, get it prepared. So plan for the implementation is going to be another essential thing. Okay. So the planning stage. So develop a proper project plan for addressing gaps and implementing new controls. So this includes a timeline list, like how long it would take for you to get everything upgraded, responsibilities, who is going to do what, resources that is needed, and budget considerations as well. Okay. So the next one is update policies and procedures. Okay. So revise your internal policies and procedures to reflect the changes and new requirements. So this has to be done well in advance. And this will ensure that documents are readily accessible and communicated to all the relevant staff who is get involved in doing all of these upgrade process. Okay. And as always, awareness training is something that's very essential and critical. Okay. So ensure that, especially if you're in a banking industry, or if at all, you deal with the credit cards day in and day out, ensure that all of your employees has been completely aware of what is going on in the organization, and they have to be prepared for this latest upgrade. And if you're going to start working on it, okay, in my opinion, something that should come in the top of the priorities is the vendor coordination. So if you work with any third-party service providers, coordinate with them to ensure that they also comply with the PCI DSS v4.0. That is again one of the crucial requirement for upgrading to the latest form. So uh, update your contracts and agreements as needed to include the new requirements. So that's another essential thing. So testing and validation has to be done periodically, and then use the right tool. Okay, so we have been talking about some of the technologies right from the slide deck one. We talked about the IAM, the identity and access management, where you can manage the permissions, right permissions, who needs to have what permission on the sensitive data. Then we talked about the PAM solution, where the users can gain an access to it. ITIL, where you have a ticketing tool implemented that is going to track of all the privileges that user has requested, and that has gone through all the procedures. And we talked about SIEM as well. Now, SIEM is one of the most critical thing. So before talking about the SIEM, and this is going to be the last question, does your organization have a SIM solution in place that detects and responds to potential data breaches? Okay, so I'm going to show the poll real quick. Sorry, just give me a quick moment, real quick. Still working on it. All right, I think this is the question that has been answered already. So I don't think I would need to spend much of the time in showing that question as well, as it's been already responded. Thank you so much, and I'm very sorry for these kind of confusions. It has to be ordered or structured earlier, but sorry about that. Okay. So anyway, I got your responses for that. I got a very considerable amount of response on this particular question. So it's good that most of you, have been complied with that, and you are pretty much using the SIEM solution. And that will help you to detect and respond to all the potential data breaches. So that's a very good thing. Okay. Now, when it comes to the SIEM solution, how can that complement the PCI DSS v4.0? Okay, so basically, SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management, and that's going to get the logs from different devices that you have. It could be anything. It could be your antivirus. It could be your firewall, switches, routers, Active Directory, workstations, Linux devices. So no matter what that is, your SIM solution should be capable of collecting the logs from different devices. Okay. And that's one of the core characteristic of a SIM solution. So getting logs from different sources, and you will have to centralizely monitor it. Then you will have to uh, create alerts from that, so that if any such incident happen in your organization, your SIM solution should be capable of sending that alert to the respective team. And of course, you need to have a proper workbench enabled, so that as a SOC analyst, you will be able to uh, uh, investigate on what happened, and it can also be created as a ticket in your ticketing tools as well, right? So that's one of the core requirement of SIEM. And then the threat detection. So SIMs are designed to analyze event data in real time, or at least nearing the real time, to identify potential security incidents. Now, this can include unauthorized access attempt, like I said earlier. It could be a report like failed attempt to read a file or failed attempt to write a file. So how many such unauthorized users have tried accessing your sensitive data? And that would be a potential violation of the PCI DSS access control, right? Or it could be a sign of a malware activity which would breach the PCI DSS requirement to protect systems against malicious software. Okay, so a threat detection is one of the key components of a SIEM, and that is not just any unauthorized users. It is also, including the request that you have received from any blocklisted IP address or any dark website. That also has to be monitored, and you will have to get the reputation scores as well, like how vulnerable it is, the request, or if at all any user available in your organization is going to send a request out to such dark website or blocklisted IP address, that has to be periodically monitored as well, right? And it is not just enough to detect the threats, you will have to take actions as well. The next one is compliance reporting. Okay, so SIM often have a built-in feature for compliance reporting, which can help in documentation and reporting processes required by the PCI DSS. So this can include report on access control, user activities, file integrity monitoring, and so on. So I'm going to show that to you real quick. What are the essential compliance reports are needed for the SIM solution? So we will be discussing that as well towards the end of the session, right? Then the data retention. Okay, so once the information is captured from the particular log sources, the responsibility of the SIM solution is to have the data forever and ever. Okay, so you should not depend upon the log source once again. If at all you have it in your as a report in your ticketing tool, and what if the logs are being overwritten or logs have been deleted by the native source? So you need to have a proper log aggregation mechanism for storing the information forever and ever. So that's another key essential requirement: data retention, forensic and analysis. That is, the historical data needs to be reviewed at any point of time. You need to have an effective search mechanism for that, and you need to have automated workflow as well. So in short, the SIM tools align well with the goals and requirements of the PCI DSS v4.0 by enhancing the security monitoring, improving threat detection and response, and providing detailed and actionable insights that help maintain the compliance. Okay, so this is what the SIM solution needs to offer, and we will get back to you. I mean, I'll just get back to you on the key takeaways. So let me just quickly take you inside a typical SIM product. So what you're looking at here is the Manage Engines Log 360, okay? Or for that matter, any SIM solution that you have, okay, needs to have all of these basic features. So you can see right here, if I go to the settings section, and I can see that all the devices that could be added right here. So predominantly all these Windows devices will be discovered by the product itself. And if at all you have any non-Windows devices that can be configured as a syslog devices from here, databases, applications, VM management, vulnerability management, every such application can be configured here in one particular section of this particular SIM solution. And then you have a unified dashboard to tell everything that's happening across your environment. So this is about the log collection, and then you can see the alerts right here. So you can see that there are plenty of alerts available here, and these alerts would help you to integrate, create a ticket in a ticketing software. So this particular SIM solution has these kind of features right here. So you do have the ticketing tool integration where any critical alert that is triggered by this application, it can get converted as a ticket in your ticketing tool, or you have some inbuilt, incident management workflow feature where automatically ticket will get created within this particular solution so that a user will be assigned automatically and actions will be taken as well. So how the actions can be taken? You do have an option for integrating multiple workflows. So you could see different actions can be taken right here. So what kind of action that you want to take, if at all a threat is detected, if at all attack has been identified by this particular SIM solution, what kind of actions can be taken? You have all these modules and functionalities right here in this alert section, right? And you have an effective search as well, right? So this is going to give the information based on the event ID, based on the device name, based on any action, or based on a particular, uh, uh, form. Based on a particular field in the log, you can have a search. The search is pretty much customizable, and you got plenty of other features as well. And then the compliance. Okay, you can see the predefined compliance right here. You can see the PCI DSS. Okay, so this is the log 360 as I said earlier, and in our log 360 we are going to, hopefully the upcoming version of the log 360 is going to get complied with the 4.0, but as of now, pretty much the latest, the previous version 3.2 is pretty much supported, and you can see all the reports pertaining to this particular compliance is available, and you can see that as a dashboard as well. Okay, so this is the compliance section here in the log 360. So this is all I would like to emphasize here in the today's session, ladies and gentlemen. So we have come towards the end of the session. So I'll just give you a brief hint about the takeaways real quick. So what is that you have to do in order to comply to the latest PCI DSS v4.0? Enhance your network auditing. That is, make sure that you audit thoroughly every single change that happens on your firewall, rules that has been modified, or any device that you have has been modified. You can have to have a proper mechanism that's going to send you real alerts. And then you need to have enhanced password requirements. For example, implementing the MFA. Even Manage Engine has a solution that will help you to act as a MFA. We have a tool called AD Subservice Plus that will help you to act as a MFA. You have a conditional based MFA as well. For example, if at all the users are trying to access to your network from outside your network, you can have the MFA for specific conditions. So that's pretty much available. And then risk analysis and scoping, that always has to be done. So you have to keep a track on every single risk that has been triggered by the SIM solution, and you need to have proper response for those risks as well, right? So encryption is another critical component. So we have endpoint central application from Manage Engine, which can help you with the encryption of all the endpoint devices. Then responsibility and accountability, right? So you need to have a proper ticketing system and make sure that the concerned person is accountable and responsible if at all a breaches happen on their territory. Compliance, the most essential thing, and adaptation for emerging technologies like XDR and EDR get compliant. So these are all the key takeaways, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very sorry I was not able to look at the Q&A because of the time constraint, but I will ensure that all of your questions will be answered. And I would request you all to please scan this QR. And if at all anybody is interested in getting a personalized demo of the Log 360 application that I have just briefed you a little earlier, my support team would get in touch with you so that we can understand your requirement and provide the right suggestion and solutions for you. So this is not just about the product demo of our application. We can have a scoping call. We can understand your requirement, and then we can give you the right solution for it. No matter whether we have it in the application or not, but we can give you the right suggestion. So please take a look at it. You can scan this particular QR code and respond to us. We will be getting in touch with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was indeed a very pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for every one of you. This is my email address, and you can see that you can also see my LinkedIn ID as well. You can connect with me in case of any challenges that you face during this transmission time. I'm more than happy to help you. So, thank you so much, every one of you. It's once again a pleasure talking to you all, and you all have a very wonderful day.